𝗵55 will probably make your hotspot earn more. Hey, I'm Nick Hawks with Gristle King, and I'm going to walk you through how the whole system works so that you understand it and you're not overtaken by the FUD, by the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that people who just don't understand the system are trying to push around. So we'll start with the kind of big picture idea, is that imagine you are in a NASCAR race and you're in your car from home, right? And you've done all the work on your car and you're really good at working on your car. Is your car likely to go as fast as the other cars that are being serviced by professional NASCAR pit crews? No, it will probably be off the track more, and the other cars that are all being professionally serviced are going to be on the track more and racing more and basically earning more rewards. That is the same kind of thing that's happening with the shift from the mechanicking on the hotspot, going from the hotspots themselves over to the validators. Now that is a gross oversimplification, but that's helpful for those of us who aren't computer geeks and nerds. I'm going to take you down to the workshop floor in a second where I've got little concrete and chalk drawings to walk you through the whole thing. But I want you, if you don't have the time to watch this whole thing, to know that 𝗵55, if you're a regular hotspot owner, is probably going to be really good for you, and it's not something to worry about at all. All right, let's take it to the floor. Okay, so let's talk about how the whole thing works. We're going to start with this guy first. I know that some of this stuff is a little bit hard to read, but I'll make it as easy as I can. So if we think of this whole circle as the entirety of all HNT distributed per time period, whether that's a day, week, month, year, whatever, is we can see this section right here that goes to from here out to here is what our current POC earnings are. This is it's 25.9% of all earnings go to POC. Now you'll see that this is broken down into a couple little slivers. The biggest sliver is for witnessing. That's where we earn most of our awards. The next one is for beaconing, and the last one is for creating challenges. Now this is the thing that people really have a problem with, so let's talk about the POC cycle. And these are not really to scale, they're just semi-close. So the POC cycle, and POC stands for proof of coverage, many people call it POC, but the POC cycle starts with a challenge. All right, that's what this word is right here in case you can't read it. So the challenge is created by a hotspot on the network. Any hotspot on the network is allowed to create and submit a bunch of challenges, but only 1 to 4 of those challenges are approved to get on the network. So the challenge is created. This hotspot could be anywhere in the world. It could be in Italy. So the challenger in Italy sends it to another hotspot. Let's say it's my hotspot in San Diego, and my hotspot in San Diego beacons out that challenge. So I'm the challenger beaconing out the challenge. That beaconed challenge is then witnessed by lots of hotspots around me because I have big badass setups and I love doing super high hotspots, but whatever. All that beacon is witnessed by all these witnesses, and those witnesses then report it back to the challenger and say, hey, I witnessed this thing. So they report it back to the Italian hotspot and say, hey, I heard Nick's hotspot in San Diego, and this is the strength I heard of that, and all that stuff. And the challenger then takes that whole package and submits it down to the validators or the consensus group to prove all that stuff was good. There's no gaming, there's no kind of problems with anything. What we're going to lose with this, and by lose I mean in very rough terms because we're actually gaining a fair amount, is we are going to lose the portion of our rewards that go to challenges. Now if we look at this big giant thing, so this is our POC rewards out to here. This little slice is, this says CG, you probably can't see that, but that's consensus group. That's what the validators are doing. This is the investors. These are the people who have paid $420 million to play in the Helium ecosystem. And this is set aside to pay for data if data is used. If not, then this gets stacked on top of ours. What we're going to focus on right now, because it's the thing that's important, is just this section here. And if we take just this section here, it's going to go over to this circle right here. So this circle right here is our POC rewards. And you can see we've got a pretty small slice for what we earn for challenging, a bigger slice that we earn for beaconing, and a giant slice that we earn for witnessing. Now, if we just take this as 100% of our rewards, which is what it is, this portion is, I think it's 3.4%. This portion is about 20%, and this portion is about 77%. So 77% of your earnings come from witnessing. And let's just say that's 75. 20% come from beaconing, and less than 5%, 3.5, a little less than 3.5, come from creating the challenge. So this is a little slice that is going to go to the validators. Now, the reason that is a good thing is, think of it this way, is 3.5% is going to go over to this consensus group, right? Over here, this 3.5% is actually only 0.9, less than 1% of this whole pie. that's going to get stacked on top of the validators to reward them for doing the job of keeping the network stable. And that is really where we win, is if we keep the network stable, if we take the uptime from where it is now, probably, I don't know, 90-ish% based on my hotspots. Your hotspots may be better, but if I look at Reddit and Facebook and Discord and all the other places you can read about hotspots, people are screaming about their hotspots being down. Your hotspot going down will not be anywhere near as big of a problem after HIT 55 as it is right now. All right, and that's because all of the hotspots on the network are struggling to keep up with keeping a copy of the blockchain on the network. So right now, in return for this, or as a reward for doing this giant task of keeping a copy of the blockchain on our little hotspots, we get this, whatever it is, 3.4% of all rewards. So what we're doing is we're saying, hey, why don't you take that? Basically what we're doing, if we go back to the NASCAR example, is we're saying, we're just going to hire a pit crew that knows what they're doing, that can run this thing so we can race the car. Right? That's what we're doing at the end of the day. And so we're paying a little bit of money, right? We're giving up this 3.4% or whatever it is over here, 0.9%. And in return for giving that up, we are getting an uptime that goes from probably 90%, maybe it's 92%. Maybe over the last month, I've had some clients tell me, hey, my hotspots have been great all month, right? And that can be true in some instances. It hasn't been true for my production hotspot. It's gone down a bunch, and if we go back even 2 months, it's gone down way more. And I think that's the important thing, is that the Helium team is kind of forced to begin hamstringing the network right now in order to keep the thing up and running. And in order to keep it up and running long term, we can't keep hamstringing it. We've got to change over to a system that is more robust. And that system means that this challenge piece, right, our hotspots keeping a copy of the blockchain and not being able to participate in POC because they have to sync to the blockchain all the time. They're always having to do other work and not the work they were designed to do, which is to provide coverage. Then they lose out. And that's when your hotspot goes offline. That's when your hotspot is syncing. That's when your hotspot is behind relay. All of those things are going away with HIT 55. And that's why HIT 55 is so good. And that's why you are likely to earn, especially if your hotspot has been going offline a bunch, you are likely to earn more HNT after HIT 55 than before. Okay, so that wraps up what's going on with HIT 55, why it's not a big thing, why it's probably going to earn you more HNT, and how the whole system works. There is one more thing to note, and that is that this idea of validators taking on this work has been a part of Helium since the beginning. How do I know that? I read the white paper. If you go to the white paper and you go to section 5.5, you will see it is entitled Light Clients and Full Nodes. That means that Helium has known about this since the beginning. Anyone who wanted to know about this has been able to read that. That's a publicly available document. And they knew since the beginning that we were going to have a problem as the network grew, and especially as it became successful, which it is, that hotspots couldn't keep an entire piece, couldn't keep the entire blockchain on them. Now, they thought, if you read that hotspots might be able to keep some piece of the blockchain on, but as we've gone along and seen that the blockchain has grown in this way and gotten hands-on experience in watching it, the decision has been made, and it's a good decision, to take all of that crap off of the hotspot shoulders and put it onto the validators. The real takeaway here is two things. Number one, Helium team is pretty damn smart. They've really thought this thing through, and it's pretty likely that we are all going to succeed because they've done a ton of thinking and work up front. The second thing is that the fact that HIT 55 has come up and we've gotten this far and grown the blockchain this big to have this problem is a great indication that we are in a healthy ecosystem and we are on track to rock and roll through to kind of your wildest dreams. Now, I'm not going to promise that you're going to buy a boat and a house and your own island off of this thing, but just the fact that HIT 55 is up for vote is a great sign that you are in the right place if you're in the Helium ecosystem. Okay, if you like the way I explain things, I would encourage you to join our Gristle Crew. The Gristle Crew is the Gristle King membership that I've stood up so that you can have access to me and other community members on a regular basis, and you get to ask and have your questions answered in real time. The first thing you get with Gristle Crew is you get access to weekly calls with us, right? So the whole community that I've got gets together. We're all pre-screened. You're not going to get any screamers or howlers in there. You are going to get great information that is delivered in an efficient manner. Whether you're a beginner and you're wondering about whether or not you should set up your Helium deployment in a certain way, or you're advanced and you have a very specific question about a deeply complicated part of the network, I can explain that to you, or I'll have an expert help explain that to you so that you get the information you want quickly and you can apply that so you earn HNT maximally. The other thing you get with being part of the Gristle Crew is you get access to a private Discord channel. So no one else gets that. You get that as a part of the Gristle Crew. And I'm on that channel all the time. So if you have questions, usually I can answer those right away. And then the third thing you get is early access to interviews, and you get to help me pick who I'm going to interview. So whether that is an interview with HiveMapper, a totally different blockchain, or Stoffel, a business building stuff on Helium, or just interviews with radio experts talking about antenna design and how antennas work, all of those things you'll get early access to. And at the end of those interviews, before anyone else has seen them, you'll have about 10 or 15 minutes to do a quick Q&A with the expert that I've been interviewing. So what typically happens when you watch other interviews is you're like, oh man, I wish you would have asked that. Gristle Crew is your chance to get in there and ask that question so that you get all your questions answered and your experience within the Helium ecosystem is as good and as profitable and as awesome as possible. I'd love to see you on the crew call. Cruise over to gristleking.com. Look for the Gristle Crew up on the top menu and join us on that crew call next week. Rock on.